Female cop clears truck driver at PRF checkpoint, but her K9 partner suddenly goes wild with suspicion. Easy, boy, it's just a routine check, Officer Ramirez murmured, but her K9 partner wasn't listening. The shepherd's low growl cut through the hum of diesel engines, ears locked on the back of the truck, like it had heard a secret. It was supposed to be a clean stop at a PRF checkpoint on the edge of town. A veteran female cop, a weary truck driver, and nothing but paperwork standing between them and the road ahead. Until the dog refused to move. Until suspicion clawed its way into a situation already cleared. If you find value in real stories told with clarity and that didn't stay cleared. The late afternoon sun burned low over the PRF checkpoint, turning the highway dust into a golden haze. Officer Elena Ramirez lifted a gloved hand signaling the long-haul truck to slow. The driver complied, easing the 18-wheeler to a stop with a hiss of tired air brakes. He was mid-40s, wiry, sun-cut skin, wearing a cap that had seen better days. His logbook and ID came out without protest. She ran the papers, checked the plates, scanned the manifest. Everything matched. Clean. "All right, you're good to go," she said, sliding the documents back. The driver's shoulders dropped a fraction, like a man grateful to keep moving. That's when her K9 Rex made a sound she didn't like. A low, throaty growl. Not the bark he gave tourists who patted him without asking. Not the impatient whine for a bathroom break. This was the sound he made when something was wrong. Elena's eyes flicked to the dog. Rex's ears were sharp, his stance-forward nose locked on the trailer's rear doors. She frowned. "What is it, boy?" The driver tried a casual smile. "Guess he smells my lunch. Got some sausages back there." Rex barked once sharp, then scratched at the asphalt hard enough to spark grit. Elena stepped to the rear palm resting on her holster. Surmined unlocking this for a quick look. The driver's laugh was too quick. "You just cleared me. Manifest says frozen meat, that's all." "Exactly," she said. "Won't take a minute." He hesitated. A beat too long. Rex's growl deepened. His hackles were up, now tail stiff. In her ear the radio crackled. "Another officer, Ramirez. You holding that truck." She pressed her mic. Affirmative. Possible alert from K9. The driver climbed down, fumbled with the padlock. Elena watched his hands. They weren't just nervous, they were shaking. The lock clicked open. Rex surged forward, barking like the air itself had turned hostile. Elena gripped the door handle. And as she pulled it open, a gust of freezer-cold air hit her face, along with a smell that wasn't meat. It was something far sweeter and far more dangerous. The scent that didn't belong. The cold air poured out of the trailer carrying that cloying sweetness, sharp at first, then sticky in the back of her throat. It was wrong. Too wrong for anything in the manifest. Rex lunged forward, straining against the lead nose working in rapid bursts. His tail wasn't wagging. It was rigid, vibrating with certainty. Elena scanned the first row of pallets. Cardboard boxes stacked tight, each marked Frigo Carne frozen pork product. Her flashlight beam cut across the frost-furred surfaces. Perfectly ordinary. Too perfectly ordinary. The driver hovered at the door, voice tight. "You see, just meat." "Step back," she said, sharper now. She swung the beam to the left, crouching. Rex moved with her nose dragging low until he stopped at the third pallet from the door. His paw came up, tapping the corner of the bottom box. Elena knelt, ran her fingers along the tape seal. Her glove came away dusted with ice crystals and something faintly sticky. She peeled back the tape. Inside a layer of shrink-wrapped pork cuts. And beneath that, vacuum-packed bricks the size of hardback novels. Not meat, not anything that belonged here. She sliced one open with her utility knife. The sweet smell exploded into the air, unmistakable now. Cocaine, pure processed and hidden under a layer of legitimate cargo. The driver's voice cracked. "I didn't load it. Turn around. Hands where I can see them." Her partner on the radio, Ramirez status. She keyed the mic. "I have contraband in a concealed compartment, requesting backup." As she cuffed the driver, Rex was still staring into the trailer, not at the drugs, but deeper past the pallets. His ears tracked something she couldn't hear. "Rex, what is it?" He gave a short, low bark, a warning. Elena stepped onto the loading floor, sweeping her light between the stacks. There, a shadow that wasn't cargo, a shape, human, shivering in the cold wedged between the pallets like they'd been there far too long. The man's eyes opened, and the first word out of his mouth wasn't help. It was a name Elena knew from the last cartel case she'd worked. And just like that, this wasn't about a dirty shipment anymore. The name that unlocked trouble. The man's lips were blue from the cold, but his eyes were sharp, too sharp for someone half frozen. He leaned forward just enough for the light to catch his face. "Elena," he rasped, "tell Ortiz, I'm still loyal." The words hit her harder than the icy air. Ortiz. She'd heard that name before, whispered in surveillance rooms, shouted in wiretap transcripts, scrawled across case files she wasn't supposed to see. The leader of the Sombras Norte cartel's logistics arm. "Who are you?" she demanded. His smile was thin. "The only reason you're still breathing right now." Rex growled, low muscles tense, reading the shift in Elena's stance. Backup arrived 2 PRF cruisers rolling up with lights cutting through the dusk. Officers clambered into the trailer, pulling the man out and wrapping him in a thermal blanket. But his gaze never left Elena, like he was measuring her for something. "You can arrest me, Senora," he said, teeth chattering, "but you'll lose more than you know. This shipment, it's nothing. The real load's still moving." Elena's partner, Officer Mendez, leaned in. "We'll process him and the driver together. Let the intel boys squeeze him." She shook her head. "No. Keep them separate. He's not cargo, he's leverage." As they led the driver away, the hidden passenger called out again. "You opened the wrong truck, Ramirez, and you'll wish Rex had torn you apart instead." The threat stuck to her all the way back to the command post. By the time the paperwork was started, word had already spread. Elena's stop turned up a cartel ghost. And somewhere in the chatter, one detail cut through Ortiz himself had been spotted 2 provinces north, moving under heavy escort. That night, Elena found herself staring at a map under the hum of the station's fluorescent lights. 2 dots, the checkpoint where she stood, and the border route where Ortiz was last seen. Between them, a dozen highways, and maybe one more truck. Behind her, Rex gave a single bark. Not the alarm this time, the kind he used when he'd found a trail worth following. And in that moment, Elena knew this case wasn't over. It was just picking its road. The order she couldn't follow. By morning, the station was buzzing. The bust from Elena's checkpoint had made its way up the chain faster than she liked. Her commander's office door was shut when she arrived. 15 minutes later, she was called in. Ramirez Commander Duarte said, without looking up from his screen, "Your report is solid, but you're off this case." Elena frowned. "Sir, with respect." "No," he cut in, glancing at her now. "The federal task force is taking over. You'll hand over all evidence, your body cam footage, and that K9's incident notes. They'll handle it from here." "Ortiz won't wait for a task force to move," she said. "By the time they get their chain of command sorted, he'll be in another country." "That's not your problem anymore," Duarte said. "Your problem is making sure your next stop isn't on the evening news." Understood. Her jaw tightened. Understood. But as she left, Mendez intercepted her in the hallway, eyes wide. They're moving him. Ortiz. I just heard a federal liaison on the phone. There's a convoy headed for the border in under 4 hours. Elena stopped. If that's true, they're not transporting him, she said slowly. They're shielding him. Mendez nodded grimly. And the decoy convoy's taking Highway 47. Looks clean on paper, but it's the perfect route to vanish, Elena finished. They stood there in the fluorescent hum of the corridor, both knowing the same truth. If she followed orders, Ortiz would disappear. If she broke them, she'd put her badge and maybe her life on the line. Rex padded up beside her tail, low eyes fixed on her like he knew the choice before she said it. Elena exhaled. Get me a vehicle, she told Mendez, unmarked, and keep this off the radio. 20 minutes later, she was in a plain white SUV Mendez, feeding her directions from the passenger seat. Rex sat in the back ears, swiveling restless. Highway 47 stretched ahead empty for now. Somewhere up there was a convoy and maybe Ortiz himself. As the first convoy truck came into view, Elena's gut twisted. Too neat, too exposed, like they wanted to be seen. She dropped a gear, falling in behind. Mendez shot her a look. You know if we're wrong. We're not, she said. But up ahead, in the rear view of the lead truck, a pair of eyes was already watching them back. And Elena realized they weren't hunting the convoy. The convoy was bait, and she'd just taken it. The Trap on Highway 47. The white SUV hummed steady at 90 kilometers an hour, tailing the convoy from 2 car lengths back. 3 trucks ahead, each identical, each with spotless tarps pulled tight. Mendez kept glancing at the GPS. They're slowing, he said. Elena checked the speedometer. 80 now. Too soon for a hill. Too soon for a turn. Up ahead, the lead truck drifted slightly towards the shoulder. The second followed. The third stopped dead in the middle of the lane. Brake, Mendez barked. Elena slammed the pedal, ABS chattering under her foot. Before the SUV stopped, 2 black pickups shot out from the tree line, one in front, one behind. Rex was on his feet in the back, barking sharp and fast. The air smelled of hot brakes and something colder, calculation. 2 men stepped out of the front pickup, both in work vests, both carrying rifles that didn't belong to any road crew. The rear truck's doors opened too. More men, no insignia, moving in a half circle toward the SUV. Mendez's hand hovered near his sidearm. This isn't a convoy escort, he muttered. This is a cleanup. Elena's eyes scanned the line. They weren't aiming yet. They wanted her out of the car. The lead man gestured with his rifle barrel. Step out, officer. Leave the dog. Not happening, Elena called back. Rex growled, teeth bared. The man's smile was thin. We're not here for you. We're here for what you think you found. Ortiz says hello. In that moment, Elena saw it, the way the second pickup driver kept glancing at the tree line, waiting for something. Back up. Number another vehicle. She hit the shifter, dropped to first, and slammed the gas. The SUV lurched forward, clipping the edge of the rifleman's stance and spinning him into the ditch. Rex barked like a siren as the white paint blurred against green. Shots cracked behind them, one punched through the rear glass, showering the back seat in fragments. Rex yelped, but stayed standing, eyes forward. Hang on, Elena shouted, wrenching the wheel toward a narrow dirt service road she'd clocked earlier. The SUV fishtailed, mud spraying as they cut into the trees. GPS, she asked. Mendez was pale but steady. Off-grid. They can't track us unless they got spotters ahead. They do, she said. Count on it. Somewhere in the chaos, one of the convoy trucks had peeled off. Elena caught a glimpse through the pines, a smaller, darker cab moving faster than the others. That's our real cargo, she muttered. She downshifted again, aiming to cut across and intercept. But as they burst from the tree line, the road ahead was blocked not by trucks this time, but by a familiar face. The hidden passenger from the freezer trailer, standing alone, smiling. And in his hand was something that would force Elena to choose between the case and her life. The offer in the road. The SUV skidded to a stop just meters from the man. Rex barked once sharp and guttural claws, scrabbling at the rear seat. Elena kept her hands on the wheel eyes, locked on the figure in front of her. The same gaunt face from the freezer trailer, now warmer, cleaner, and holding a small black satchel in one hand. He stepped forward casual, as if bullets weren't still echoing somewhere behind them. "Officer Ramirez," he said, voice almost polite. "This is yours if you turn around." The bag swung slightly. She didn't need to open it to guess. Cash. A lot of it. Mendez leaned toward her. "He's stalling. The truck's getting away." She didn't answer. The man smiled like he'd heard Mendez anyway. "Inside, names wrote, dates. Everything you need to put Ortiz in a cage. But it comes with a condition." Elena's grip on the wheel tightened. "And what's that?" "That you forget about the shipment in that other truck. You go home, file your little report, and let the bigger game play out without you." Rex growled deep and low. The man crouched slightly, meeting the dog's eyes. "You know, Perro, sometimes survival's smarter than loyalty." Mendez's hand was on the dash now. "Elena, we don't have time for this." She cut him off. "What's in the other truck?" The man's smile didn't waver. "Not drugs, not guns. Something Ortiz values more. Something he'll kill for before he lets it cross that border." She glanced at Mendez, then back at the man. "If I take that bag," she said, "and walk away, what happens to it?" "You never hear from me again," he said simply, "and Ortiz never hears your name." The satchel swung between them like a pendulum, counting down seconds she didn't have. Rex barked again, not the alarm bark, but the one he gave when he'd caught a scent that wouldn't let go. It was coming from the direction of the fleeing truck. Elena exhaled, "Keep your bag," and floored the accelerator. The man stepped aside at the last possible moment, his voice trailing after them. "You just signed your own obituary, Ramirez." The SUV roared back onto the service road, the other truck's dust trail visible in the distance. Whatever was inside, she was going to find it, even if Ortiz himself was at the wheel. But a kilometer ahead, the dust trail vanished. The road was empty. The truck was gone. And that's when Rex began barking at something in the trees. The truck that vanished. The dust settled in the stillness, leaving only the rasp of the engine, and Rex's barking cutting through the trees. Elena slowed the SUV, scanning the undergrowth. "There's no road out here," Mendez muttered. "They didn't drive out. They hid." Rex yanked at his harness nose, pressed to the window, barking toward a wall of dense acacia. Elena killed the engine. "Stay behind me," she told Mendez. They moved into the trees, the air heavy with sap and exhaust that hadn't had time to fade. And then she saw it, a sliver of metallic tarp between the branches, too still for wind. They pushed through the brush. There, in a natural hollow, sat the missing truck. No driver in sight. The tarp on the trailer had been cut, then retied hurriedly. Something had been unloaded. Rex whined, pulling towards the rear doors. Elena climbed up, knife in hand, and sliced the bindings. The doors swung open to reveal nothing. No crates, no packages, just the lingering smell of warm canvas and something chemical. Mendez cursed. "We lost it. Whatever it was, it's gone." But Rex wasn't looking inside anymore. He was staring past the truck, deeper into the hollow, where a dark, uneven patch of earth caught Elena's eye. She stepped closer. The ground had been turned recently. She knelt, brushing away the top layer of soil. A glint. Metal. She dug with her hands until her fingers hooked something, a sealed, military-style case, olive green, heavy. Mendez's voice dropped. "Elena, that's not cartel issue. That's army surplus." She unlatched it. Inside rows of cylindrical canisters, each labeled in faded black stenciling. Not explosives, not drugs. A chemical agent, restricted, illegal even to possess. Her stomach dropped. "This isn't smuggling," she whispered. "This is a delivery." A twig snapped behind them. They spun rifles, pointed their way. Men in mismatched fatigues, faces painted, moving with military precision. One stepped forward. "Walk away," he said. "Now." Rex's growl rumbled through the hollow. Elena's pulse hammered. She'd found the real cargo and the people who weren't going to let it leave these woods. And somewhere behind those rifles, she was certain Ortiz was watching. The last move in the hollow. The men closed in boots, silent on the damp earth. Rex's barks bounced off the trees like warning shots. But Elena knew sound alone wouldn't stop them. Mendez whispered, "We're outgunned." She didn't take her eyes off the rifles. Not outplayed, not yet. From the corner of her vision, she caught a flash of movement, a figure leaning against a tree just beyond the circle. The thin smile, the relaxed posture. The man from the freezer trailer. And beside him, half in shadow, a heavier silhouette she'd only seen in surveillance photos, Ortiz. The man stepped forward, his voice carrying easily. "You found what wasn't yours to find Ramirez. Now you get to decide, do you walk out with nothing or not walk out at all?" Ortiz didn't speak. He didn't have to. His eyes were cold enough to do it for him. Elena felt the weight of the army case at her feet. The chemical agent inside wasn't just contraband, it was leverage. If she left it, she'd save her life and lose the case. If she took it, they'd never let her reach the road. Rex growled, low hackles up. That's when she made the choice. In one motion, she grabbed the case's handle, snapped her fingers, and shouted, "Rex smoke." The canine lunged not at a man, but at a canister on the ground, his teeth puncturing the small smoke charge clipped to his harness. A plume of dense white fog erupted, swallowing the hollow. Gunfire cracked. Wild Blind panicked. Elena yanked Mendez by the arm, hauling the case with her free hand. They ducked behind the truck, using the chaos to cut toward the tree line. Through the haze, she glimpsed Ortiz once, his outline turning, retreating deeper into the forest. The man from the trailer at his side. They weren't running. They were repositioning. By the time the smoke thinned, Elena, Mendez, and Rex were back at the SUV engine, screaming to life. Bullets pinged off the frame as they tore down the service road, the case rattling in the back. They didn't stop until they hit the main highway. Only then did Elena pick up the radio. "This is Officer Ramirez, PRF, Checkpoint Delta. I have an unregistered military-grade chemical agent and armed hostiles in Sector 9. I need a federal hazmat unit and immediate lockdown." There was a long pause before the dispatcher replied, voice tight, "Copy Ramirez. But this order came from above. They're already scrubbing your checkpoint from the logs." Elena glanced in the rear view. No vehicles behind. Just Rex panting quietly, eyes still alert. She reached back, rested a hand on his head. "They can scrub the logs," she said, "but they can't scrub the truth." Somewhere in the forest, Ortiz still had his network, his men, and his roots. But now Elena had his cargo and proof he'd crossed